That's really... Yeah, it is Mountain Dew. Mila's first Baja Blast. It's like fine, you know. I feel like I would prefer like a Dr. Pepper.
Well, we have a blast.
I'm gonna take a video.
I love this.
What are you doing?
I'm not. Sadie, I'm literally not.
Okay, then don't.
All right.
Yeah, you see it.
Yo, yeah. You see, Yo, can we just be chill? Sadie, can we?
Yeah, we can be chill. No, last time this happened, he tricked me. Mid-handshake, he said, when that person agrees... Yeah, for the record, when he said, when that person agrees, then we'll be cool. And I looked to turn to see who it was, and he dumped his drink on me. As I turned. Trusting. Like, the trust.
I spent this summer moving around. I think after graduation, exploring new places and swimming in crystal blue waters was a welcome distraction. Post-grad life is filled with so much uncertainty. Who to be, what to do, where to work or live. These are questions that I was thinking about throughout senior year, but got to put on hold this summer. I let my skin crisp up in the sun. I breathed in the Mediterranean air. I spent too much money on matcha and coffee and gelato for someone who remains unemployed. I don't really know who I am outside of school. I've been a student for as long as I can remember, and this summer before I forge the person I am outside of academia, I got to just be.
Let me hear you. 1, 2, 3. I'll let you take a piece of me. I hope you get 1, 2, 3. I hope you get a piece of me.
I want to talk about some of the books that I've read this summer because I've definitely done some good beach reading and I've also done some good reading in general. And not all of these will qualify as beach reads, I know. There are some books that I wanted to talk about. R.F. Kuang spoke at my graduation this past year because she went to Georgetown for undergrad. That reignited my love for her. I read The Poppy War, I believe the summer after my freshman year of college, and I really liked it. It was very sprawling. It was a little bit, I think the word I'm looking for is ambitious in what it was trying to capture, but as someone who is very interested in 20th century Chinese history, I really loved it. But I got to read Babel this summer, which I think is even better than The Poppy Wars, is steeped in post-colonial thought and theory, and is just a really magical, heartbreaking tale about language and the way that language holds power. It's about the power of translation. Georgetown certainly does not have the most traditional English department, as I read a bunch of books in translation when I was in my college English classes, which I know is not necessarily true for all college English departments, but for example, we read Crime and Punishment in one of my classes, and what was so fascinating is that different people had different translations in the class, because some people didn't want to go out and buy the translation that was recommended by our teacher, but some of our most interesting conversations revolved around the difference in translation and what is missed and what is captured in one versus the other. So reading about translation in a fantasy story context was really fun. I'm actually reading her new book, Catabasis, I think is how you say it. The next book I wanted to talk about was Outline. I was lucky enough to get to travel to Athens this summer for the first time, and it's really fun to be reading a book about a place that you've been to. And I wasn't reading Outline whilst I was there. I was reading Babel whilst I was there, I believe. But reading Outline after that was so much fun. I brought it to Sardinia with me and finished it while I was there. Just getting to read about a place that you've been to, again, it's just the best feeling in the world. I had not read a book like that in a while. I feel like in my classes, I rarely read contemporary literature, and I think most of the reading I've done in the past 4 years has been for school, to be quite honest, save for the reading I do in the summer. And it was fun to get back into that kind of contemporary literature world. The next book I want to talk about is by an author. I'm going to butcher his last name. It's Hanif Abdurraqib, I think is how you say it, but he is a fantastic writer. His book, They Can't Kill Us Until They Kill Us, is one of my favorites ever. And he has a newish book out, it's not that new, called On Basketball and Ascension. And as one of my friends put it in her Goodread review, I forget which friend it was, but she said it's about sports and not about sports at all, which I think is a perfect way to capture it. He is just the most beautiful, magical writer of all time. I think he has a language or just a voice that connects to everyone in a really universal, wonderful way. And if you can read anything by him, I would. But this summer I read On Basketball and Ascension, and it was absolutely incredible. Now I have two final books that I want to talk about that I read this summer. One is called Strange the Dreamer, and the other is Demon Copperhead. Strange the Dreamer was a book I read in middle school, I want to say, and I remember loving it. And there are a lot of books I loved in middle school that do not hold up today by any means. I remember this one being really special and whimsical and just important. It left a huge mark on me, but I really forgot what happened, so I decided to reread it this summer, and it was such a great decision. I guess it'd be considered young adult. It's definitely not like romantasy, not Sarah J. Maas, but the world building is so amazing and the story is so poignant. It's definitely about generational trauma, but set in this incredible, wonderful world in the city of Weep. And if you're interested in fantasy and young adult fantasy at all, I would absolutely recommend. It's wonderful. And just, I think so many books that I read now that exist in the fantasy genre, and I also might just not be looking hard enough, but tend to remind me of another book. More and more I find it hard that I find an original story, and this story feels so unique. Like I've never read anything like it before. The last book I want to talk about is Demon Copperhead. I had not heard a single bad thing about this book, and I was really waiting for a time when I wanted to read it, where I felt like I was ready to read it, just because so many people had told me it was one of their favorite novels of that year, of the past 5 years, and so I knew it was going to be special. And it's rare that you find a book that's so universal that everyone loves it. I am on the Demon Copperhead love train. It does really make me want to read David Copperfield, which is the Dickens novel that it's based off of, which I have not read. I don't think I've actually read any Dickens at all, so that might be a good place to start. It takes place in West Virginia and tells the story of what the author claims is a modern David Copperfield. The main character's name is Demon, and his nickname is Demon Copperhead, which is why the book is called Demon Copperhead, but it's absolutely incredible. It's a story about addiction, about poverty. I think, especially in the United States, maybe less in different parts of the world, but tells a really important story of a place, of a people that I think will be remembered for a really long time. I feel like it has this kind of quality that will transcend decades, which I feel like is rare for a book when you first read it. I also want to talk about some books that I bought that are on my to be read list. The first book I bought, I actually got today, and it's The Vegetarian by Han Kang. I hope I'm saying that right. I've heard amazing things about this book, and when I was checking out, the man who was checking me out was like, this book is so good, you're gonna love it. So I'm excited about this one. I kind of want to go into it not knowing what it's about. I do know it's a bit of a psychological thriller vibe, but excited for that. This book, I have to admit, I bought simply because I thought the cover was really pretty, but I'm still excited to read it nonetheless. It's called Hunchback. I think it's by a physically disabled author. That's what I thought. And it's about someone who has a physical disability who writes erotica. It sounds really exciting and interesting and fun. I think it's a debut. Actually, I don't know if that's true. Please ignore that. But I'm excited to read Hunchback. The next book I have from this summer that I've collected is called Small Boat, which I've heard many things about. I believe is translated from French, and it was shortlisted for the International Booker. I think I have seen a clip of Dua Lipa talking about this book, but the premise seems very interesting in that it's about a boat of migrants that call for help on France and England, and both the French and British authorities refuse to help people stranded on this boat, and there are only 2 survivors. The account of the events is told by a woman who took the calls. I'm not sure if she's on the French or the English side. I assume she's on the French side, and she's accused of failing in her duty. I think she sort of negates or tries to avoid moral repercussions because she blames the event on the war, on the sea, on the other side, that she should not be held responsible for these people's deaths. People have said that the book is interesting because it's sort of philosophically makes you think about the questions that it's asking. My friend Manu sent me a picture of the new Bunny book that has just come out, which I'm really excited about, but I think she got me a copy and is going to send it to me. That is probably at the top of my TBR when it arrives because I really thoroughly enjoyed the first Bunny. It was so crazy and like perfect. I don't know, dark academia feels like an overused trope, but it was just silly, spooky, hilarious, just a rollicking good time. I'm really excited for that to come out. And that has been my book update of late. I'm sure you can tell I'm journaling a lot. It's helped sort out thoughts, think about my life from different perspectives. I walk to new coffee shops, try new pastries, frantically apply for jobs, and frantically try to decide what I want to do. I read, although it makes me miss being in a classroom. I get on new forms of public transportation and listen to old music favorites. Recently, I took a trip to a photo booth. It was something my friend tested earlier this year in New York. I felt determined to capture me in this moment of my life. Adrift. I can't account for the stray hair, but it's me, 23, almost 24, and unsure. I'd like to think you can see that in the photo strip that came out. You probably can't, but I'd like to think.